They told everyone I gave up. They said I couldn't handle her success, that I was acting out. Funny, isn't it? How quiet warnings sound like envy to loud people. She got the spotlight. I got the side eye. And when I stepped away, they all said it confirmed everything. That I had to be jealous. But jealousy doesn't build things. Jealousy doesn't stay up till 3 a.m. designing something that no one will clap for. Jealousy doesn't evolve. I didn't want what she had. I wanted to breathe without proving my worth. My name is Alyssa Carter. I'm 29 years old, and I live in Austin, Texas. And this is the story of how her friends, the same ones who once laughed at me, started following me. I used to think that friendship was unconditional. That if you grew up with someone, shared childhood birthdays, your worst breakups, and late-night college ramen, you were unbreakable. That's what Madison and I were. Best friends since we were 9. She had the loud laugh, the perfect hair, that magnetic presence that made rooms pause. I was the quieter one. I was more the observer, the behind-the-scenes type. But it worked. We worked. Growing up, everyone just assumed we'd take different paths, but successful ones. Madison wanted to be in PR. She always knew how to command attention. I wanted to go into behavioral psychology. I loved watching people, understanding what made them tick. For a while, it looked like we were both on track. I got into UCLA with a partial scholarship. Madison landed an internship at a major agency in New York straight out of college. It was like our lives were running parallel, but hers had all the glitter. Then life started bending sideways. My final year, I burned out. Hard. I'd been pushing myself to keep up with expectations, family, professors, peers. Sleepless nights turned into full days of disassociation. I missed one too many seminars, one too many project deadlines. I got called into the dean's office and left that day, without looking back. I didn't even tell Madison at first. When I finally did, I tried to keep it light. I texted her, taking a breather. Might pivot for a while. Let's chat soon. She replied 2 days later. You're seriously quitting UCLA? That's insane. LYSS. You're better than this. Or maybe I misread you. That last sentence felt like a slap wearing perfume. I tried to laugh it off. Said something like, life happens. Maybe I'll go rogue and do something wild, like start a dog bakery. She didn't even LOL back. Just left me on read. Then the whisper started. Our mutual friends, Jenna, Sloan, Kayla, they started pulling away. I'd comment on posts and get no response. Texts went unanswered. But I saw the comments under Madison selfies, the heart emojis, the inside jokes. One day, over coffee with Sloan, the only one who still agreed to meet, she said quietly, I don't know what happened between you and Mads, but she said you've been different. That maybe you were jealous of where she is now. That word. Jealous. I don't think I said anything. I just smiled and stirred my coffee like it hadn't just scalded me inside. And maybe it looked that way from the outside. She had the glossy apartment in Brooklyn, the perfect boyfriend, the influencer brand deals. I was back in Austin, working part-time at a community center and living in a studio with bad plumbing. What could I say? She's just taking a break, my mom would tell the neighbors. We don't talk about that anymore, my aunt said once, when I walked in during a conversation. I became the ghost of someone who almost made it. But there's something strange about being invisible. You stop performing. And when you stop performing, you start listening to your own voice again. I began again. Quietly. No one noticed. It started with a folding chair in the back room of the Southside Community Learning Annex in Austin. A place where nobody asked for resumes. Nobody cared where you went to school. They just needed hands, patience, and people who showed up on time. That was me. My official role was digital literacy volunteer. Unofficially, I was the girl who taught retirees how to unlock their emails. It was unglamorous. No one posted about it on Instagram. And I wasn't even getting paid. But I kept coming back. At first, it was just to fill the silence. Then something shifted. Her name was Lorraine, 72, sharp tongue, floral scarves, and absolutely terrified of touchscreens. The first day I met her, she poked her iPad like it had insulted her grandchildren. This machine hates me, she muttered. It doesn't hate you, I said. It's just waiting for you to like it first. She looked up. Smart ass, she grinned. We started meeting twice a week. She wanted to learn how to FaceTime her son in Idaho. She said it had been 4 years since she'd seen his face. After 3 weeks, we finally got it working. Her hands were shaking as she tapped the green button. Her voice cracked when he answered. Johnny? Oh my God. You got old. We all laughed.
She cried.
I turned away so she wouldn't see I was crying too. That was the moment. That was the breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding since UCLA. It didn't make headlines, but it mattered. I began documenting little moments like that on a private blog. Just reflections. Stories of small wins. I called it the quiet spark. 3 people read it at first, me, my cousin Drew, and some stranger named Camille44 who left heart emojis. Didn't matter. It felt good to build something again. No pressure. No comparison. Just purpose. And every once in a while, I'd look at Madison's feed. Glossy trips. Event invites. Rooms filled with champagne and curated captions. It didn't sting as much anymore. Because while she was collecting followers, I was collecting stories. 6 months in, the director at the center, Mr. Hawkins, called me into his office. He was one of those ex-teachers who still wore sweater vests and had permanent chalk smudges on his fingers, even though no one used blackboards anymore. You've got a gift, Alyssa, he said. And I'm not just talking about patience with the elderly. I mean vision. I smiled awkwardly. I'm just helping Ms. Lorraine FaceTime her grandkids. No, he said firmly. You're doing more than that. You're building bridges where people only saw gaps. And I think we need to do it on a bigger scale. That's how Connected Roots was born. It started small, just me, a part-time coder named Marcus, and a grant from a local nonprofit. We created a beginner-friendly digital curriculum for seniors. Everything from how to open Gmail to using rideshare apps, booking medical appointments, and yes, how to block robocalls. I spent weekends designing interfaces with bigger buttons, clearer fonts, less jargon. I'd test them with Lorraine, with Mr. Gutierrez down the hall, and with Miss Ellie, who still called the internet the outer web. It was slow, often frustrating, but it was growing. Within a year, we had 9 partner centers across Texas. We were onboarding over 1,200 seniors per month. I presented at a local innovation summit, and our program got picked up by a major healthcare group for their outreach initiative. Our email newsletter had a 78% open rate, higher than some Fortune 500 companies. And yet, at Thanksgiving that year, I sat at the Carter family table, watching my cousin Julia show off her medical school ID badge while my uncle bragged about her saving lives. When my mom said, "Alyssa's working with computers now," the room got quiet for a beat. Then someone coughed. Teaching old folks to click buttons? Real noble work, my aunt finally offered, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. My brother, Ryan, who used to sneak into my room for life advice in high school, now called me the artsy one. She's always been the free spirit, he joked to his wife, while spooning mashed potatoes. And Madison? Still no texts. But somehow, I'd see her friends Sloan, Kayla, reposting articles I wrote under the quiet spark, with no idea I was the author. One even tweeted a line from my blog, calling it life-changing, and tagging Madison in it. I never said anything. Outwardly, I was thriving. We'd just received a grant to expand nationally. A university professor had invited me to guest lecture. I was being asked to speak at panels, podcasts. But back home, I was still the girl who left UCLA and did something techie. I kept reminding myself, recognition isn't the reward.
Purpose is.
Still, there was a weight to being unseen by the people who once believed you'd be great, just not in the way you became. It was a Wednesday, around 6:45 p.m., the kind of evening where the Austin air feels thick but gentle, like it hasn't decided whether to rain or hug you. I had just wrapped up a session at our newest partner site, a quiet little senior center tucked behind a laundromat on 6th Street. I stayed behind to help pack up chairs when a woman stepped in through the side door. She was tall, early 30s maybe, curly auburn hair, wearing a soft green blouse and these chunky glasses that made her look like a book editor or someone who collected vintage typewriters. "Excuse me," she said, glancing around nervously. "I'm looking for someone who works with the, what's it called? Root something? Connected Roots?" I offered. Her face lit up.
Yes.
"That's it. Oh my God. Do you know who runs it?" I paused. "I'm one of the people behind it, yeah." She let out a breath, like she'd been holding it since parking. "I just needed to say, thank you," she said. I blinked. "For what?" She reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and turned the screen to me. It was a FaceTime screenshot of an older woman, smiling with a toddler in her lap. "My mother," she said. "She lives in San Antonio. She hadn't seen my daughter in person in 2 years. But thanks to your program, she learned how to video call. Now she reads bedtime stories to her every Wednesday. We call it Nana Night." I stared at the photo, and something in my chest cracked open, quietly but completely. "I'm so glad I helped," I said, my voice catching. Then she frowned slightly. "Wait, are you Alyssa?" I nodded. Her mouth dropped.
Wait.
"Hold on. Like, Alyssa Carter? You're the quiet spark, too?" I laughed, a little stunned.
Yeah.
"That's me." She shook her head like she didn't quite believe it.
Wow.
"I feel like I've read your words for months, and now you're just here." She sat down beside me, still clutching her phone. "You don't understand," she said softly. "My mom had stopped talking much after my dad passed. And then one day, she tells me she's going to a tech class. I thought it'd be a disaster.
But now?
She's alive again." It gave her back her voice. She looked straight at me. "You gave that to her."
I didn't know what to say.
So I just nodded and whispered, "Thank you." And then, the moment that undid me, she added, "I actually heard about Connected Roots from a girl I know. Madison? She shared your program link in a group chat. Said it was the only thing that helped her grandma." My throat went dry. Madison. She had shared it. All this time, she'd known. And never said a word. Not even a, "Hey, saw this. Proud of you." But somehow, the universe didn't need her to say it. It brought the truth to me anyway. The woman reached out and squeezed my hand. "Your work matters, whether they say it or not." I smiled, eyes misting, and said, "Not because I demanded attention, but because the truth walked in by itself and refused to stay quiet." The next morning, I woke up to a text from my mom. No emojis. No preamble.
Just.
"Read something about your program in the community paper. That's you, right? Your grandma would have been proud." It wasn't a full sentence of praise, but it was more than she'd ever said since UCLA. I didn't reply right away. I just stared at it for a long moment, then saved the message, not as a screenshot, not in a frame, just quietly in my heart. A few days later, my brother Ryan called, out of the blue. He didn't say much either.
"Hey," he started.
"I met this guy at work. His dad's in one of your programs. Said it helped him stop getting scammed." "That's pretty badass, sis." I smiled. "Thanks, Ree." Then there was a pause. And he said something he hadn't said in years. "You know, I never understood what you were building, but I'm starting to get it." I didn't gloat. I didn't say, "I told you so." I just listened. Because honestly, it wasn't about proving anyone wrong anymore. It was about learning to feel whole even when no one clapped. Madison still never reached out. Not directly. But a few of her old friends followed the Quiet Spark on Instagram. One even left a comment that said, "Your words make me feel less alone. Thank you for existing." I pinned it quietly, said nothing,
Just sat with it.
and somewhere in that silence, I realized I didn't crave their applause anymore,
I didn't need their reposts.
or dinner table approval, or to be introduced as someone who made it. Because I had made it, in a room full of seniors who now called me our girl. In the tearful eyes of a woman who got her mother back. In the nights I didn't feel like I had to explain myself anymore. It wasn't pride. It was peace. There was a letter I once wrote to myself back when I first left UCLA, full of doubt, fear, and a desperate need to be seen. I never printed it, but I still keep it in a folder called Someday. I haven't opened it in years, because someday became today.
And it was enough.
If you've ever been called the one who gave up, if you've ever been labeled the disappointment, the dropout, the dreamer with no direction, this story was for you. Because sometimes the loudest impact is made in silence. Sometimes the deepest roots grow underground, unseen, uncelebrated, until one day they bloom. I used to think visibility was the goal, that being seen meant being worthy. But now I know there's a kind of power in quiet persistence, in building something sacred that no one claps for until they realize they've been standing on the shoulders of your work the whole time. So, if you're in the middle of the messy part, the rebuilding, the invisible phase, don't rush it. Don't resent it. Honor it. Because your growth is happening, even if no one's posting about it. Even if your family doesn't understand it. Even if the people who once doubted you still do. You don't need their apology to validate your evolution.
You just need to keep going.
Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your quiet story. Because someone somewhere is waiting to feel less alone. And maybe your words are the bridge they didn't know they needed. Thank you for being here. For holding this space with me. More stories are coming. Stories of quiet victories, of real people, of second chances. Until then, keep blooming in your own time.